This is Mike Fish, broker owner of Minnesota Real Estate and Management. I appreciate you taking the time to check out this video. Normally when I do a training video, it tends to be for a particular audience. And this is one that's truly for sellers and buyers. Because today what we're going to talk about is getting into some of the specifics of what we do that is different from other brokerages. And quite frankly, what any good broker does in the area that specializes in selling lake homes. So the first thing I always say when I'm talking to a potential seller is you need to understand, one of the first things we need to understand is that the chances that your buyer is going to be local is very slim. A lot of our buyers are from the cities. Probably half my buyers, if not 75% of the buyers we've had over the last several years have been out of state. 3-4 of them, for example, recently from California. So whether you like it or not, the truth is this market is propped up and pressure's put on it from out-of-state buyers and remote buyers. Now there's certain things that I do that are very unique that we do for our sellers that are I don't know why other people aren't doing them, but it's no secret, so I'll put it in this video. There's other things that are somewhat industry standard, but are important to understand, whether you're a seller looking to sell your lake home in the area or whether you're a buyer. You can understand what we do, which is a little bit different and kind of up and beyond a lot of brokerages. So the standard thing, of course, is high quality videos, photos, drone footage, of the lake, the shore. That's something that everybody should be doing. That's kind of the very least, right? I always say any realtor can take the thing, throw it on the MLS and cross their fingers. It's the extra things we do that make a difference. And there's some things we do that we've proven make a pretty big difference. I just recently put out a training on doing a separate lake profile. And that separate lake profile is used in marketing. You can give it to potential buyers, because when someone's looking at a lake home, quite frankly, the lake is just as important as the property. And I just put out another very detailed video on the top 20 lakes in Minnesota, or in the Brainerd Lakes area, and the property values on those lakes. Those type of resources help a buyer be comfortable. And that's a lot of what we're talking about. Now, we do sell things sight unseen. My comfort level is always to have the buyer come in before we put an offer in, but we do sell things completely sight unseen as well. The chances of getting the right buyer, the highest and best buyer, is all about the information we're providing. We want to take out those unknowns, right? So putting together a good lake profile, with all the DNR data, etc., is very important. We actually put that as a supplement on the MLS and make additional videos. The next thing we do is a little bit unique, but it's been a winner for me over the years, and that's guided video tours. Aside from the regular, video tours that you see on the MLS, I do inside and outside video tours of us selling the property. I always say nobody's going to know more or care more than the seller agent. Now, we're not allowed to put these on the MLS, but they are online. And when we get a potential buyer or a realtor calls and says, hey, I might have a buyer, we're sending those videos and saying, check these videos out. So really it gives me a chance to get in and sell the property, put it in the best light, and then the buyer is much more likely, quite frankly, to put an offer in sight unseen, which isn't necessarily our goal, but certainly they can make the decision where they want to come up and see the place or not. So that's a big key to what we do to work with out-of-state and buyers that are from down in the cities and not in the area. We do the other thing we do for buyers is, of course, we're doing virtual showings, live showings, walkthroughs, really doing the legwork that they may do if they were here, whether it's walking through and getting stuff inspected, double checking everything. That's always very, very important. And another important piece of that is making sure that you have the additional information on the supplements. So there are several things we do on the MLS with additional supplements that I think are very important if your chances are your buyer is not going to be from around here. I always encourage, don't require, but I encourage sellers to get that septic inspection up front, get that water test up front, have all the utilities there so that the buyer can understand. I've had buyers that have bought in property and not understood, the buyers have bought, and I was a seller agent, the buyers bought it, didn't understand what a septic was or how it worked. I had one buyer at one point that did understand that the well was her water and she didn't have to put it in her name to register it as a utility. So it's very important that we're putting as much information as possible, about kind of how all this stuff works. Part of targeting that the out-of-state buyer or the buyer that's not from here is having a reasonable social media presence. The better, the bigger. Social media is continuing to grow as a place where people find you, but more so than that, it's about them being able to go somewhere where you can take the time to build credibility, explain that you do know a little bit about what you're talking about, like this video. So, of course, kind of more of an industry standard is you've got to be on that communication. If they call and they say, hey, I want to go look at this property, I'm in Kentucky, we're what time today do you want us out there? And we're out there looking at that property, helping them make a decision. Out-of-state buyers can get stressed if they've looked at several places from a distance, and every time they're looking at a place, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone, or it's multiple offer. So we move lightning fast for buyers. Thinking about 3 recently that we pulled off. One was what was coming soon before it hit the market. Full price, cash offer, sight unseen. Another one was full price, cash offer, same day it hit the market. Another one, the one after that was full price, or almost full price, sight unseen for almost 2.7 million. So these out-of-state buyers or buyers that are from down in the cities, they're the ones, for the most part, that have the ability to buy these lake homes, and the way we work with them does make a difference. I do want to mention too, obviously we run one of the more successful short-term rental management companies in central Minnesota too. So we do have a unique niche in our ability to highlight it as a vacation home. And a lot of buyers are looking for a place for themselves, but they want us to fill it up on the side when they're not using it. And that also is something that we do a highlight on, individual highlight separate, where we say this is what we think this thing would look like if you're going to do a vacation rental on it. So that's another advantage that we have. In the end, it's all about trust. And somebody that's in another state, the only way you're going to build that trust, get them on the phone to have the conversation, is to have the online assets, to have the branding and authority online where they can watch videos like this, get to know you, get to trust you, and then they're going to reach out, and make that phone call. So those are just a few ways that we specifically work to target. The other thing we do is separate social media branding as far as our ads go. Put it on Facebook, run a Facebook ad targeting down in the metro. So just a few of the things that we do here at Minnesota Real Estate and Management to make sure that we're targeting more than just throwing it on the MLS and hoping somebody comes by. But I always do tell people, there's 10,000 realtors in Minnesota. We're a dime a dozen. So chances are one of them could have a buyer that they're going to bring up here. And another little secret to my success has always been willing to show the property to a buyer, no strings attached. Because you've got realtors down in the cities, no offense to anybody, but they're busy. They don't necessarily want to drive up here to see a place. Sometimes they're out of state themselves, doing other things. So I always offer, if you got a buyer that wants to come up and see the place, just let me know. I'll show up at the property, show it to them, no strings attached for the first showing. And then I do encourage the buyer agent to drive up if they're going to put an offer in and do a second showing, of course, so they can put their feet on the ground and be part of that conversation and do their due diligence and fiduciary duties to their client. But again, two of the unique things we do is individual walkthroughs where we're actually selling the property in detail, and we're always willing to show the property to the buyer, even if the buyer agent can't be there for the first showing. I have sold many properties specifically from doing those two things. I've sold lake homes in January where the seller goes, I saw your videos and the yardage is beautiful in August. So these going up and beyond and doing this extra work can make a huge difference. And when you're selling a lake home, who you choose to go with as a selling agent can be the difference easily of $100,000 or more in your pocket. So it's a big decision. So again, I'm Mike Fish, broker owner of Minnesota Real Estate and Management, and we truly feel, because we are not a in-the-box franchise, we feel that over the last several years, we've been able to tailor and develop processes and systems that have allowed us to be very successful in everything we do, including getting the highest price for sellers that are looking to sell their lake homes. So depending on where you're seeing this video, please subscribe, stay in touch, reach out anytime, and I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.